Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? Good to have you with us tonight. Welcome to our April edition of A2NewTech. I'm your host, David Nesbitt. I've been in Arbor about 10 years now, and 5 of those working in tech here in town. And I help oversee a portfolio of academic software tools at UMich. So this meetup has been running ever since 2009. So this is our 10th anniversary year. And since then, we've had 100 plus meetups, 350 plus companies pitch, 7,200 members right now in the meetup group, and last year we had almost 60 pitches. This is kind of a friendly front door for entrepreneurship in Michigan. So we're glad that you could join us tonight. Here's some of these pitches. We're going to have 4 companies pitching their company tonight. Question to get a sense of who's in the room. And this is helpful for you guys to maybe look around too and get a sense of that. Who is a first timer at A2NewTech, never been out before? Awesome. So a lot of people in the room, which is great. A lot of new people to meet if you're someone who's coming back. And who's hiring in the room? Okay, get them on hands. And then who's looking for a new role, a new next opportunity? Okay, awesome. So some of those people can connect and you can meet each other. So this monthly gathering time is an important one for our community in Ann Arbor in tech. We have a strong tech community here. There's a lot going on. And this is one of the central hubs to learn about what's happening out there, what are the new eyes that are being created or incubated or launched, to meet other people who are helping shape the future of tech in Ann Arbor. So people in this room are building those companies, shaping the culture and community and what it's like for people to work in tech here. And one of the things I encourage you to do while you're here tonight is to help somebody else out. So of course you probably have your own reasons for coming, things you want to learn, connections you want to make. But everyone else does too, and there's other people that are looking for an opportunity or trying to start a company or getting feedback. So try to give someone some help. Try to give them a connection or teach them something or give them a piece of advice or just help them in some way tonight. And then definitely join us after this at Pizza House on Church Street to have some free pizza, courtesy of Ann Arbor Spark. So it's a great time of networking. You can connect with people a little bit more if you didn't get to touch base with them tonight here. In the next month, before our next meetup, then you can also connect with people from the tech community in Ann Arbor on our Slack channel, which you can join at maidena2.com/Slack. So I'll let you join. That's maidena2.com/Slack. And on there you'll find general announcements, open job postings, tech announcements about things in Ann Arbor, general events, and a lot of other stuff. So definitely go check it out. And that's a good way to stay connected throughout the month. I also want to say a quick thank you to people that helped make this event possible. This is a really valuable event for all of us, and these are people that have helped to make that possible over the last 10 years. So A2 Geeks is a nonprofit dedicated to making Southeastern Michigan and Ann Arbor a great place for geeks and creatives to live, work, and play. Rayle from R2 Vibe does our video for this event. So if you want to, yeah, you can give Roger. And so we appreciate him doing that, putting it up so we can have a historical record too of our pitches, and we can look back at old meetups. If you want to hire Roger for this kind of work or any other work, you can look up R2 Vive. That's R2VIVE on Google.
Any other kind of work?
Any other kind of work. And maybe primarily video work. I also want to thank some of the co-organizers for this group over the years: Doug Song, Zach Steinler, Scott Gosey, David Bloom, David Corcoran, Brian Kelly, Brooke Boyle, and others. These organizers helped to make this event happen, curate the presenters, and put work in over the years on that. So thank you to them. I also want to say thank you to the Entrepreneurship Clinic at UMich Law School. We're here in the law school building right now because they help us get this room every month. So Dana Thompson's the founding director of Michigan Law's Entrepreneurship Clinic. And if you're a company in Michigan, especially a startup, you can get free IP, corporate, and various legal services from law students here. So you should definitely take advantage of that if that sounds interesting or helpful. And you can contact Laura Schiltz, who is the clinic administrator, to learn more about that. And then lastly, I mentioned we have our pizza sponsored by Ann Arbor Spark this month, so we are appreciative to them for doing that, and they've been doing that for quite a while now, monthly. And Ann Arbor Spark, if you're not familiar with them, they're committed to bringing together organizations and individuals to support the growth of companies and creation of jobs. And so those are people we want to say thank you to that make this event happen. For tonight, our agenda is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to have our 5 companies pitch. They're going to start in just a second. Actually, 4 companies tonight are pitching. And each one is doing a 5-minute pitch and then a 5-minute Q&A afterwards. We will then have, after those pitches, we'll have a time for community announcements. And so if you have a meetup that you want to pitch, an event, you want to let people know about an idea that you want feedback on, or you're looking for a collaborator, a position, or you're hiring, think about your announcement now, and you can come up after the pitches. We'll call you up, have you line up here, and then one at a time we'll come up and stand right here and give your community announcements, which we'd ask you to keep to 1 to 2 minutes. And so kind of keep it a little bit brief, but it's a great way to get news out to this whole group. During the Q&A portion after the pitches, we'd love for you to ask questions and to think about your questions during the pitch, write them down. But make sure that if you want to ask a question during that time, that you phrase it in the form of a question so that they can respond to it. That's helpful for the whole group. Also ask you to limit to really just one question at a time. So I know it can be tempting sometimes to kind of continue in conversation with the person pitching, but that can be less interesting for everyone else over time. And so try to keep it just to one question or two if you really have to. And then lastly, raise your hand. We'll call on you that way, and that's all know, and keep an orderly room. And along with that, I should have mentioned this too, that it's tempting to get feedback. And instead of asking a question, you're going to have ideas, a lot of you have experience, maybe with the areas even that these companies are working in. But ask it in the form of a question, save the feedback for afterwards when you're talking one-on-one. Remember to silence your phones. Make sure to turn those off. And if you're tweeting, use hashtag A2NewTech. Same thing on Instagram. And that's about it for tonight. We're ready to jump into our pitches. And so I'll call up our first pitch is Brad Chick from Bodala. And so Brad, while you come on up and get set up, I'll tell you a little bit about Bodala. Bodala empowers businesses to analyze, manage, and control outside legal counsel costs. And a fun fact about the company is that Bodala is Sanskrit for illumination of talent.
And I did bump into a Sanskrit speaker, and it was pretty close. So, just because I don't speak Sanskrit, my two partners do, to a certain extent. Well, thank you, David, and A2 Geeks and the greater Ann Arbor tech community for having us tonight. My name is Brad Chick. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO of Bodala. We are a New York-based startup, but the entire tech team is run out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. What we do is a fancy way of saying we help large companies manage their legal spend. So why? Well, it turns out that these are Fortune 100 companies, for the most part, really have a very, very hard time controlling their legal expenses. Every year they see the legal fees go up 10, 15, 20%, not unheard of, never stopping to climb. At the same time, the firms they're paying, they read in the Wall Street Journal every other day that these firms are recording record profits. So our clients tend to be very large. This is a subset, and they spend up to $1 billion a year on outside counsel. So, for example, if we can save 10% of $1 billion spend in a year, is a significant. That's $100 million. So it's a significant savings. To give you some examples of some of the things we see, we had a client come to us for an analysis this year. One law firm billed our client $28 million. Might be a fine number. But $11.2 million of that was billed under the description of services rendered. That was it. That was the only insight they gave. And the partner, this is the effective rate. This isn't the rack rate. The partner was making $1,745 an hour. Not a bad gig if you can get it. We also see lumpy quality. We've seen the same law firm do roughly the same work for different clients. They hand out the work to one client. They bill them $15 million. The next week they hand out the same work, bill them $3 million. It turns out that the $3 million job was of much higher quality. So why does this all happen? Well, depending on who you talk to, right, it's a mystery. If you talk to the firms, right, the response is everything is completely bespoke. Everything's unique, right? You can't compare matters to matters. You can't compare across firms or across clients. It's just impossible. And as a result, we have to hold on to our billable hour. So, and if that's their position, they dig in their heels. And our clients don't have the resources to kind of fight back in the data, then their costs stay higher, they go up. Well, that's where we come in. It's really not a mystery. What we do is, at the end of the day, we take a look at the legal spend and we give them the good, the bad, the ugly. We tell our clients where the value is and where they're not doing so well. So how do we do it? Firstly, domain expertise. My two partners have been in the kind of big law space for 25 years apiece. We think we have great technology, and connections are also important in this space as well. By connections, I mean it's not easy for a 10-person shop to go to AIG and say, hey, we want $1 billion of your data. So, here's our stack. It's pretty complicated, but at the end of the day, what we built is a SaaS platform where we ingest the legal data of our clients. We mostly do analytics with some internal benchmarking and we also do external benchmarking. We've also developed a pretty sophisticated marketplace engine for our clients so they can make their firms compete on rate card and also on individual matters. So, for example, one of our clients, United Airlines, came to us and said, look, we want to finance a $500 airplane using European banks. Right? Ordinarily, United would just call their relationship firms and say, hey, Susie, can you do this? They go, of course we can. They hang up, they turn around and go, hey guys, I don't know how to do this, but let's do it, right? Turns out we've done a lot of research. That's the whole Hercules harvesting engine. So we can tell United who in the world actually has done that work in the last 3 years. So then that solution is simple. For that particular matter, you pit their relationship firms against these newer firms with experience, and if you make firms compete on price comes down. Where we're at now is we're in the middle of, we're basically closed and oversubscribed on our growth round. We're raising $8 million. Our lead investor is the largest private equity firm in the world. Ultimately, we intend to just be at the nexus for the entire legal marketplace. How we get there? Obvious. I'm here to evangelize and recruit. This year we're hiring 9 new engineers. Echoing what David said, I'm a big advocate of Ann Arbor tech scene, and I would love to bring junior, senior, front end, full stack developers on board. Anything we can get our hands on. There's our tech stack, and that's it.
All right, questions for Brad. Right here in the
Tom.
Brad.
You said earlier in your talk that you look at the quality between that different firms produce and find that some is better than others. How do you measure the quality of the legal work that different firms do?
Yeah, it's a tricky question. Ultimately, there's a couple of things. If we can get results, right? So if it's a litigation, you can see like a bunch of our clients are insurance clients. We have the 3 largest insurance carriers in the world. And the matters are pretty similar, especially if they're in the same region, and often they use, sometimes they use the same counsel, often. So we know what they're doing, and then you can see the results, and it's not terribly difficult if you kind of understand the space. It's a good question, though. In that particular case, it was kind of what founded the company, actually. That was one of my partner's work. He actually, handed out, and he's like, this is a ridiculous industry. I can't believe I'm doing this. Somebody's got to fix this.
Right here.
How do you charge for your services?
Yeah, I wish we were like percentage of savings. We tried that. It doesn't work. We're actually, though, with a big client, we're on a 10% savings or 8% or something right now contract, but that's an exception. Generally, we're a SaaS platform. We're subscription-based, so it's an annual fee.
How do you get your leads?
How do we get our leads? Well, initially it was, personal networks, honestly. It's not anymore. We're ramping up. We have a pretty well-organized sales team, wherein we have, on the bottom, we have SDRs, sales development resources. They do drip campaigns through LinkedIn. We have some word-of-mouth sales at this point because we have some clients who think the world of us. Sales is going like this. There's a lot of strain on the little technologists in the room. We got to catch up. You're supposed to pick up.
How do law firms feel about you?
No. Yeah, I guess we're kind of couched as the enemy. Maybe that's right. big firms. But it's not the case. I mean, look, we're going to advocate for good work and value. I mean, it's the good, the bad, the ugly, right? So what we do at the end of the day is say, you're getting great value here, right? And so maybe you should shift this kind of commoditized work over to these guys. That's $1,745 an hour. That's ridiculous, right? I mean, really? So it's not that hard to find other folks doing the exact same kind of work where we can. So, depending on who you are, we're the, good or bad.
Where else is the team based? Is it completely here, or is there an office here?
New York City is corporate headquarters. Insofar, that's where our clients are. The big companies and the big firms are in New York City. Have to.
So is it mostly a development focused office here?
Technology team is run from Ann Arbor. Yep. And we're not budging. I mean, I love Ann Arbor. That's why I'm here.
Are you focused on specific types of laws? Is it litigation? Is it contracts? Just
Nope.
all kinds?
All kinds.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
What about attorney-client privilege matters?
Yeah, it's an issue.
Seems like you're getting data from, and I know you can say, we're, anonymizing it, but.
Well, we can't anonymize it, actually, and it's an issue. But we get over that hurdle. It's like anything else. It's like HIPAA and PCI compliance. It's the same kind of thing. We have PII in there, and we have information about sensitive matters for our clients. So it's a big issue. Our sales cycle, as a result, is very long because we have to go through third-party assessment, risk stuff. It could take 3-4 months. So fortunately, we've some people on our team we're like tier 1 providers for JP Morgan with a CISO title. So we're able to go to that hurdle. It's a good question. Thanks.
Time for one more. In the back.
Are there any penalties for the law firms once they reveal that they're upcharging your clients?
Well, I mean, yeah. What happens is, and we do have a kind of a professional services arm, and for our really big clients, they're often afraid to go in, and we're doing this right now. I can tell you that it's very sensitive because this is I can't tell you who it is, but a very, very, very big company, right, wants to save money on a firm. They spend $150 million a year on this law firm. But the guy who founded this company is best buddies with the head of the law firm, right? We looked at the data. There's a lot of fat to be cut. So we often come in with the client to the firms, and they complain a little bit, but we can turn around and say, look, these are your bills. We're not making this up, right? I mean, you have nowhere to hide. So there's some of that.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
All right, thanks, guys.
Alrighty, moving right along. Our next pitcher is Ray Batra, and he is pitching Shift Up. And, awesome. Got 2 fans already. So Shift Up is We Work for Learning. And a fun fact about Ray is that he spent a semester living in the woods without technology while an undergrad at Michigan.
Cool. Thank you guys. Thank everybody for having me. It's my first time out here. My name is Ray Batra. As I just mentioned, I'm building Shift Up, which is We Work for Learning. But I want to start a little bit about me. So I have been working in the education space and really trying to reinvent systems of education for almost a decade, since I was 16 here in Ann Arbor at Huron High School. And just before I quit my job a few months ago to focus on this, I was at a company called the Entangled Group, which is one-arm venture fund, one-arm consulting in higher education, based out in San Francisco. Before that, I was at a company called EdSurge, which is a VC-backed startup that's essentially like TechCrunch, but for the ed tech space. So I got a lot of opportunities to see what was going on around North America and the world. And then before that, I was here at Michigan, where I had the privilege really to spend some time working for the U.S. Secretary of Education, Arne Duncan, under Obama. I spent some work here at the University of Michigan for the digital innovation team, and also got some classroom experience as a substitute teacher. I care deeply about this space, and when I was in college, I loved a lot of my experience, but there was a lot of it that I was very frustrated by at Michigan. I saw several very brilliant friends drop out of Michigan, in part because the incentives and basically what was being rewarded in college was not It was a mixed incentives, basically. And so I spent about 2 years as an undergrad trying to get the university's executive team to launch a new campus in Detroit. And I'm thinking about how do we build a new system of education. So where does this start? I mean, basically, if we look right now, we know that online learning is already a major space. And over the next decade, as automation and technology and the pace of innovation continue to grow, right, there will be pressure, more and more pressure for people to reskill often in their lives after college. Many of them will turn to online learning, but there's a major problem, right? Online learning remains a lonely experience, right? Frustrating and hard. Almost 93% of people, of students, prefer some level of in-person learning. So the future of learning that I've seen, right, is very clearly heading towards a hybrid future, part online, part in person. But the infrastructure for that does not yet exist. And that's what I want to build, right? So we are building a network of physical spaces and communities that are designed for online learners, and specifically for underemployed adults who are working to improve their careers. So this is a new product category that I'm calling a learning gym. So learning gyms are not boot camps. We do not create any content. We work with content providers like Coursera, Udemy, Lambda School, others. And we do not manage real estate. So we work with underutilized spaces like coffee shops, co-working spaces, etc. We have a range of memberships that go from $49 a month to $149 a month. And basically it includes, on a weeknight, when you come to the space, right, we run basically self-paced classes Monday through Friday. So you come in on Mondays and it's a web development group. Tuesdays it's a digital marketing group. Wednesdays data science. So everybody in the room is learning the same general topic that you are. We have a coach in the room walking around helping people out. And you get the community, the space, and the coaching is largely the main three value propositions. And we're doing this. So we're actually live in Detroit. We got one location up and running in a decommissioned middle school on the northwest side of the city. And we've now served 31 customers, paying roughly about $120 a month, roughly on average. We're seeing right now 93% month-over-month retention. The last 2 months, we've grown 30% each. We are basically moving full steam ahead. It's a big market, right? Just quickly out there, looking globally, $76 billion is what we're estimating, 25 in the US, and then $735 million in the Midwest, which is our initial target. Let's see. So yeah, the vision for this really is to become the community college of the future, right? This is where we're headed. And so I'm here today just to let you know for a couple of reasons. One, I'm building a founding team. So right now it's just me and about a dozen or so contractors. I'm looking for basically a VP of operations who'd be on the founding team. I'm also raising a round. So this is an angel round. Basically want to open one more location, complete the team, give us some runway to basically reach profitability and to hit product market fit as we iterate. That's it for now, but thank you.
Awesome. Questions for Ray? Over here on the right.
If you envision any kind of partnership or relationship with the educators who are offering these courses, I mean, how do you picture that evolving over time?
By educators, do you mean the coaches in the room, or do you mean online content?
The university, Northwestern University,
yeah,
or whoever.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we actually, I mentioned I used to work or intern in the digital innovation team at the University of Michigan. So we've absolutely had talks with them, University of Virginia, some others as well, Purdue. So there is possibilities are really endless. It's a massive, massive space. We're starting with one thing for now, which is JavaScript. We're basically doing web development, but then we'll expand beyond that. But yes, down the road, yeah, I mean, you could, there's hubs of alumni in different cities. You could host cohorts of University of Michigan alumni students in Chicago or Detroit or San Francisco or whatever. So that's on the roadmap. Yes?
Will this degree be recognized or you have accreditation of some sort?
Great question. So we specialize in creating the best offline support, right, for online learners. So this is the community, the coaching, everything else. We do not create the content ourselves. So we work with accredited institutions, both on the college side for people who are working to get degrees, as well as boot camps, right? So some of the top vetted online boot camps that are now actually free up front. You only pay if you get a job, right? So the affordability problem is starting to go away. So when people come to us, we sit down with them, we understand as an onboarding, kind of like a financial coach or a doctor. What's your problem? What are you looking for? What are your goals? And then we can refer them, right, to the right online provider for their needs and their stage. And if they want a certified degree, we can recommend them one way. If they want just a job with a good boot camp, we can recommend them the other way. Think of it sort of like Netflix in a way, right? It's a new distribution kind of system. Yes?
So we talked very briefly before your talk, and I was curious about what you had to say about the third space. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means in the context of your company?
Thank you. Yes. Something that I'm really actually quite deeply excited about is that there's almost a secondary underlying problem that I think we're going to be able to take a whack at solving. And that is honestly the social problem of loneliness and isolation in society, right? Specifically, some of you may have heard about this idea of third spaces, which is essentially that in our lives we have a first and a second space, which may be professional work and home. And there used to be third spaces, which were largely about churches or malls or other kind of institutions. And those have largely declined, right, a lot in the last few decades. So I believe what we're building sort of communities for aspirational communities, right, for people who can come together to learn and be better. Almost 45% of Americans consider themselves underemployed, right? So when they're coming and being in a community of supportive, we've had people now that have stuck around for 16 months and are continuing to go, even 9 months after they got their initial job, and they're still staying with us, paying $150 a month over month. So I'm really excited about building communities and hopefully helping solve a growing loneliness epidemic as well. Yes?
Do you have ideas for your next locations?
Yeah, so right now we're in one of the neighborhoods in the northwest side of Detroit. We'll probably, the next one will most likely be downtown Detroit, but we'd love to come out Ann Arbor, some of the suburbs. We, some of the interesting thing about this is that we're really targeting the middle 50%, right? This is much more of a mass market thing. We're not trying to, one of the things you might ask is, could WeWork do this? Well, potentially, but they're also targeting a very specific type of person who's much more on like the top sort of 15%. This is much more for that middle 50. Yeah.
On that, can you get data from your major content providers to figure out where the subscriptions are?
Yes, thank you. That's one of our distribution strategies. Right now we've been running basically a lot of free intro to coding workshops because it's a new behavior. So people come to us and then we kind of introduce them to this and then they sign up for memberships. But long term, in terms of scalability, we are looking right now. The top instructor at Udemy has agreed to blast out basically what we're doing to his local Detroit users and to others as we go. Same thing with Lambda School, which some of you may know is sort of an incredibly fast-growing online boot camp that's sort of taking a lot of that community by storm. So yes, we're solving a real pain point for online content providers in terms of helping their users retain and complete and become repeat purchasers.
Is part of your vision that people would, let's say, because one thing to like point people to online resources to say like, oh, you're interested in this, and so like here's the course we suggest or the platform, but do you also anticipate that people might just register for their own course and decide I want a place to go do this, and that would be like a large part of the use, or how do you see that fitting in?
Yeah, so this is super early. We're still like really, really early. So my assumption here is that probably about 75% of our users will come sort of through us, through our lead gen, social media, et cetera, and then probably about 25% might come through the channels of online content providers. We'll see how that plays out. We still haven't like actually flipped the switch on any of those partnerships yet. We're just lining them up. I don't know if that answers your question. I may not.
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome, that's all the time we got.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. And our next pitch is Chronicle Press Tech News. So Lori K. Cowan and Archie Cowan are here to pitch. And Chronicle Press Tech News is a source of narrative journalism for Ann Arbor Tech. So I'm interested to hear this pitch. I think this is a really neat idea for this group to hear and give feedback on and meet Laura and Archie. So Chronicle, fun fact about the way that they spell this with a C-R-O-N, is that Chronicle is a play on cron scheduler, for people that are familiar with software dev in the room, and the Middle French spelling of chronicle. So there you go. There's your fun fact.
The right thing? Thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, great. Hi guys. Yes, we are Chronicle Tech News. My name is Laura Cowan. I'm a local journalist with a background in automotive and green tech news, mostly in Ann Arbor, but also with some national outlets. And my husband Archie is on the senior technology team at JSTOR Ithaca. He's their chief technical architect. So we are longtime Ann Arbor residents, and we've seen a lot of really fantastic growth in the tech space. And we've seen a lot of really not fantastic things happen with media, locally and nationally. So Archie's going to talk a little bit about the problem that we're solving, and we'll go from there.
So who's participated in Tech Trek? Just curious. Or who's been in a company part of it also? All right, cool. So I don't know if this resonates with you, but I found as being part of that, I knew so little about how much was going on all over town. I think after the last one, I felt like I knew more about what was happening in Silicon Valley than on another floor of the same building that I'm in. So that kind of got the gears turning and thinking like, well, who's writing about what's going on the 7th floor of 301 East Liberty or 2 blocks from me, And we began thinking like, why don't we try that and see what happens?
We had a few moments of, why won't this media outlet take this tech story? And then I was like, wait a minute, they can't. And wait a minute, why isn't anybody else doing this? Well, because we're the people who are supposed to be doing this moment. So what we are doing is narrative journalism is sort of like an NPR style, or think like Humans of New York kind of a journalism, where this is very people-focused. And it's very much about helping people connect with who is next door. Because even when we go to meetups that are topical, people are coming together with very interest-specific common ground. They often don't know what each other is doing, or they can't talk about it. That's a different issue. But we wanted to create a blog where people could learn who's who in tech and cover some of the fantastic growth. So we're doing that at chronicle.press, and we want to thank our initial dozen interviews for launching with us. It's up now. But we are calling for more interviews. Anybody, please follow up with us. And right now, this is our team. We've got myself, Archie, Enzo, the Chronicle dog, and who's very high maintenance. And you guys, we would be happy to have guest posts, but really right now we just want to profile you and talk about you and what you're doing. I found coming from media, I run into a lot of people in tech who are used to being backroom people, and so they say, oh no, I'm boring. And I'm like, that didn't sound boring, what you just said. Could you say that again? And we'll get that on camera. So it's print, but we are very much interested in what you're doing, and we're very much interested in anyone you can introduce us to who has something. This is Ann Arbor based at the moment, or Ann Arbor connected, but we would love to branch out from there. So what we've done is started interviewing, launched the blog. We're starting to cover tech events, and we're trying to interview at least 100 people the first year, though I think that's conservative. Time-wise, it's a lot, but there are way more people than that to talk to. We are drowning in content, which is a great problem to have. We're just starting to ask for sponsors, and we would love your feedback on business model ideas, because I don't think we can live on sponsorships alone. We have a lot of ideas beyond that for events and panels and things that we can do, but any feedback you can give us, any ideas, we would love to hear your feedback on that. So what we're asking is, what industry issues affect your work day to day in your position, and what's your ask? Who would you like to meet in Ann Arbor Tech? Or if there's just some conversation you're dying to have with somebody out there, what would it be? Because people have some really interesting answers to that, and we're helping people reach out to each other through the blog and kind of connect. So, yeah, we are looking for sponsors. We're mostly looking for interviews. Please forgive me if I don't get back to you immediately. We've just barely started this, and the enthusiasm is fantastic. So I am reading your email. I just am one person. Yes, and in the future, Archie also helps organize DevOps Days Detroit with Mario Loria and some other folks. So we may be able to get in with some conferences and work that way. We would love, as themed issues come up, to put together panels of you guys to talk about industry issues. So that is what we're doing. We're by Tech for Tech Media, and there's the contact information, and we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
All right, questions for these guys?
Yes.
Hi, I think it's awesome what you're doing. Thank you for both doing it. Nice to see Archie and getting involved in media around here. What other publications or cities has been inspiring to you? Are you trying to learn from?
Well, I think we kind of like what TechCrunch does, but I think the focus here is a little bit different. So with my background in automotive media, I was mentored by a gentleman named David E. Davis Jr., who brought new journalism or narrative journalism to the car magazine space. So I don't know if anybody here has ever read a car magazine, but before like the 60s, probably before you read them, they were very tech heavy and very gearhead oriented, and he brought this sort of storytelling, immersive style of journalism to the space. So you can see that now on Top Gear or Grand Tour, whatever it's called. They use more humor in addition to that, but it's this sort of immersive experience of driving culture. So what we're doing for this is we would like to keep up with everybody's latest news as well, but really we think that Ann Arbor has a super unique tech culture and arts culture, several different industries that come together. Also, I should note that because of our backgrounds, I am also interested in bringing together mobility tech and sustainable energy people with the software and core tech people, and also there's a lot of medical stuff around here. So we already have people saying, well, I'm in user design, but I'd love to talk to the medical folks because they have more, interfaces these days. There's a lot of that. So I would say that the general tech people inspire us, but we're not just picking apart people's IPOs. That's not really our thing. Really more we're looking to the narrative journalism side as inspiration.
So given the fact that so many people don't want to pay for content, and I think you alluded to it a little bit, but you don't have a model yet for future
It's
projects?
really just sponsorship at this point. So super briefly, what happened to media is the digital disruption of the old paper newspaper industry meant that the subscription model fell apart. You really can't get that online. You need a subscriber base of the New York Times to do a freemium model. And the advertising model never took off. 10 years ago, when I was working in the car magazines, they already knew that, but they were trying to work their way through it. But I remember it being something like 10% of the original revenue came of the subscription model came from advertising. They were really struggling. So you'll still see a lot of collapse in local and national media on all levels because of that. So the idea here is that tech has a lot of business growth and no media coverage. They also have most of the resources, frankly. So we don't really want to just go around begging for sponsorships. We're planning some ways that we can connect this in other aspects. But we really think that with independent journalistic ethics, where you don't buy content, we decide what we write about. Nobody's buying posts or opinions or anything like that. But with sponsorships from the tech industry, that's why we call it Buy Tech for Tech Media, because I really think that's what people are looking for at this point.
Other questions?
Okay, well, we will also be covering this event, so if you don't mind me taking your pictures, if anybody does not want their picture posted, please let me know. We will respect that, but I'll be taking a few pictures as well. And please reach out after the fact for interviews.
Who thinks they'll reach out? All right.
Everybody? Cool. Yes. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Our last pitch for tonight is Fifth Eye Incorporated. So Jeffrey Bosch is here to pitch Fifth Eye. And Fifth Eye is developing patient deterioration early warning systems for hospitals using continuous waveform signals. So a couple interesting facts about Jeffrey Bosch, this man sitting in front of you. He's approaching 50% of his career in companies over 300,000 employees and 50% in companies under 30 employees. So very different sides of his career. He's also visited 27 countries, so you can ask him about that afterwards.
Pretty busy. Well, great variety of speakers today. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you a bit. We're going to introduce some healthcare entrepreneurship to the discussion. Most people, raise your hand if you've seen this before, anything like this, yeah. So unfortunately, too many probably have. This is an ECG or an EKG, and it's basically the fingerprint of your heart signal. Okay, so it takes the electrical messages from your body and indicates what's coming out. And it's a lot like your fingerprint here, except in the world of phones, they can do all kinds of analysis on that fingerprint, and it can open your phone. But in a hospital, unfortunately, all a doctor or nurse will do is look at that message for 6 seconds and look for any trends to decide whether you're going to get better or worse. We think there's a better solution. So we're going beyond vital signs to improve the quality and cost of care with intuitive, real-time, early warning systems using existing continuous waveforms. Why is this important? Because if you look at the hospitals today, 1/3 of patients in the hospital are going to experience an adverse event while they're in the hospital. And 85% of those adverse events have some kind of physiological early warning, if it can be detected. And if you can act on those early warnings, it's been proven that you can reduce mortality by 75% or cost by 40%. So how's it done today? You think, well, this is so important, they must be all over it. Unfortunately, it hasn't changed much in many decades. You basically are going to do spot check vital signs, you're going to do physical exams with a doctor or nurse, and you're going to get lab tests. These are going to be intermittent and really late indicators of what your health is. And we believe there's got to be a better way. So we come back to this ECG or EKG signal, and we say, why don't we feed this signal in to a machine that looks for characteristics that could be used to predict patient deterioration? We looked at 1,000 different characteristics of that shape of the line, the distance between the high peaks, distance between the low peaks, the slope, all kinds. There's a million different things. Data science, I'm hiring. We took all that and we put it into a machine to do some learning. And we were very fortunate at the University of Michigan that after 4 years we were able to prove that we could quite simply predict whether a patient was going to get better or worse down by 16 of those 1,000 features. We just took 16, put in a machine and said, look at that. And what we do is resolve that to a green, which means you're stable, or red, meaning you're likely to be at risk in the near future. Now, how does this work in the real world is what you see on the left is an existing work display for a multi-patient monitor at a nursing station. You can clearly see which patients are at risk on that. Not so much, but if we could simplify what you see over there to a red and a green, even from where you're sitting today in this lighting, you can say, I might look at those 4 patients at shift change. I want to talk about them first instead of room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're now empowering nurses who already kind of had a sense from their experience, and doctors, you're helping them prioritize their patients. I mentioned this came out of the University of Michigan over 4 years of research. One of our clinical studies there is we looked at how accurate could we predict whether a rapid response team was going to be called. This is when they hit the button and it say code blue, come and help, and everyone rushes into the room. We found that with our device, with our technology, we predicted 100% of the people that were going to be called. More importantly, everyone that wasn't called was green. And early warning systems are really at fault if they have false alarms. And so we had 0 false alarms. And on average, actually median time, we were 7.7 hours ahead. It turned red from when they actually decided to hit that button based on visually inspecting that heart fingerprint. Where can we use it? Today, it can be used, once we get FDA clearance, at the intensive care unit, telemetry, a step down, and the emergency department, anywhere where you have an existing EKG signal. Eventually, it's everybody that needs a patch, that they need to do this at home. So when you go to the emergency room, they give you a patch, you go home, and it'll tell you if you need to come back because you've got 7-hour warning. So let's come back out. So where are we today? 4 years at University of Michigan. We licensed the technology in 2017, started up in 2018 with some angel funds. And just in March, so a little press for you, just a few weeks ago, we closed our Series A $9 million round. We're going to use that funding to get through FDA clearance this year and get the body of evidence that goes along with that one trial that I showed you. We've done 3 others that will really convince everybody that we need to get this into your hospital so that you're going to call and say, do you have that? And when's it available on a patch in 2020? In 2021 and 2022, we'll ramp it up, get to break even. When we get about $25 million, we think it's time to roll it into a much bigger company that has a portfolio of predictive analytics that they would integrate this into and provide it to hospitals and clients. So that's a quick summary and introduction to Fifth Eye. We're looking for data scientists as well as people that have deep and rich clinical study experience. And I welcome your questions.
What was the average time?
The average time is actually quite a bit higher because there are some that were really early. When you have internal bleeding after surgery, it's really hard to detect. We would show it right away because it actually, your body is compensating. And we actually had one of our best examples, was 33 hours, was we went red. They eventually found out they were sick. They went in, they found they were bleeding internally. They fixed it and put it back in the bed. We were still red. Why? There was 2 bleeds. And another 15 hours later, they went red again and brought them in and fixed the second bleed. We see the bleeds really early. Now, if you have a hemorrhagic stroke, you've got 15 minutes, and you're lucky to get that 15 minutes. They're very happy to have that 15, but it's only 15. So it really depends. It's an all-cause hemodynamic instability indicator, and we take all comers based on that.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, I wonder if you're familiar with a thing called the Rothman Index from Para Health, and if you could just maybe compare and contrast what you're doing to what you seem to be working on a similar problem.
I am familiar with the Rothman Index. There's about 10 to 12 players in this space. The difference for all of them, and the reason we raised money from Arbor Ventures here in town, was that all of those are based on vital signs and have intensive nurse workflow interaction. Nurses have to go and get respiratory rate, vital signs, input it into the EHR, which would be Epic and often, and that is resisted by the nurses and doesn't give you continuous data. Like we give a data point every 2 minutes, they get it every time they do rounds. So that continuous access to the waveform data is what differentiates us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right here. Patent behind this technology?
Yeah, so we licensed it from the University of Michigan, which includes one issued patent and a few trade secrets. And we have an exclusive license to that. We also have another patent pending that we issued since we were founded. And it has a lot to do taking a continuous waveform and performing an analytic on it in real time to provide that feedback, and we use web services to do that. Doing that all in real time is very challenging, and it brings in very sophisticated data science and analytics, and that's what the patents are around. Yes?
Yes, have you looked at doing predictive analytics on other indicators than just ECG?
Yeah, so we are a platform technology. Well, our specialty is taking continuous waveform data and then doing analytic in the healthcare space. We've actually had people already asking, can you do it outside of healthcare? Because it's so specialized in terms of how you do that. So anything that's continuous, we are happy to do. And there are quite a few in the healthcare space. A lot of the trick is getting that into the cloud. So how do you get it from the EKG machine into the cloud so that we can run on that? And we have a partner that we're paired with under an agreement that's working with us to get those extra signals. And that will be the second, what we call product 2. Will be coming right after that.
And doesn't it take a while though to analyze what to get the predictive indicators for a particular?
So it took, if you mean how we come up with the analytics, so going from 1,000 to 16, that first time we did it took 4 years, 2 years to develop it, 2 years to prove it. And now the next one will be hopefully faster because we have the patent that we can work off and hopefully learn from that. But it is what we think is a barrier to entry is that first time you do it. Now we know how to do it and we're not sharing that secret sauce.
Is the indicator simply a binary, or because there's like millions of different indicators, can you discern that it is in fact internal bleeding from some kind of?
Right. So we are an all-cause, and we do not tell them what's causing them to go red. Typically, our feedback from the clinicians is, if you tell me who's a priority, I know why they're sitting in that bed. Do they have a gunshot wound? Were they coming out of post-op? Are they sepsis likely? They like that, but we are looking at the second analytic that we could bring in with ours that, as a partner, may help filter that and say, hey, this one, because of that other signal, is likely a sepsis patient. That would be possibly the 1.2, where we take our existing analytic and partner it with the second one. Absolutely.
Question here in the back.
So after you take the data, process it, and display the results, is there a delay between that since it goes in cloud and it comes back?
Right, so the delay is about 2 seconds. and we update it every 2 minutes. So the doctors don't want to see things varying all around. They're looking for a trend. They said, hey, if you're averaging 7 hours, we'll take a data point every 2 minutes just to get rid of that variability. And so the latency that's involved is well handled within the time frame. I should also mention, because I would ask this question, this is all de-identified data. So we de-identify it within the hospital, even though AWS handles patient primary data, health information. We don't want that. It's a barrier to deploying it at clients. So we strip it, send it up, bring it back, and unlock it with the internal key. I think it was yes.
So how much data do you need to send off?
Yeah.
Before you get a prediction back?
So first number comes in 5 minutes. And the nice thing is there's no baseline. So we don't need a heart rate. It doesn't matter. You don't compare it to other patients. The analytic is locked. So this is not a continuously learning model, which is how it's going to help us get through the FDA. Continuously learning models, for anyone thinking about it, are scary to the FDA because they're changing all the time. Ours are locked.
Following
Yes.
up, does precision and recall change after you get more data? After 5 minutes, or is it?
No, it's it's actually right away the same number you're going to get. If you put it through again, it'd be the same. Yes.
All right, that's all the time we got. Thank you so much. Okay, well, great pitches tonight. That was great. Loved having just a variety of different areas and industries pitching. So let's move on to our community announcements time. So if you have a community announcement, you can line up here in front of the whiteboard, and then you all come up and stand right here where I am and give your pitch one at a time. Again, keep it to 1 to 2 minutes. And so this could be a meetup, a position you're hiring for, looking for a collaborator, or feedback on something. And so if you want to, first person in line, want to step right up and start the first one, then we'll get going. You can also write your information on this whiteboard here if you want people to follow up with you afterwards.
Okay, I'm here as Archie from Ithaca now. We're helping host a hackathon called Hack A2, and we're doing this in participation with Spark, NetScout, Tech Inclusive, Nexian, and Chronicle. And there are prizes. So if you're into this, you should check this out. I have a bunch of stuff here. I'll put it up front.
Wait, when is it?
June 8th to 9th, I believe after Tech Trek, or before it. So.
Hi, Brenda Jones. I'm from Kinetica Labs. We are looking for an iOS developer for a paid contract position for at least 5 months. It could become a long-term contract and a direct employee situation. The name of the company is Kinetica Labs, iOS developer.
Hey everyone, I got a couple announcements. One, if you liked the stuff that you saw here today, but you don't know how to build a startup yourself, you can learn it, whether it's through Shift Up or a meetup that I host in town called Coffee House Coders. We meet every other Wednesday. It's kind of free form. You can come with problems and we'll just kind of try to guide you. We're not teaching you. We're basically just putting you on a path. You can find it on Meetup, Ann Arbor Coffee House Coders. And then at the end of the month, I'm doing a talk actually on building startups. I built a lot of startups over the years, some that have succeeded, some that have utterly failed. And so if you want to hear about my experiences building that at small to medium-sized kind of businesses, or you're thinking about building a startup yourself and you want to know the pitfalls to avoid, you can check out my talk. It's going to be at A2RB on Meetup as well. And I'll put all these links in the description. So, or you can just come and talk to me too as well. So find me over there. So.
Hi everybody, my name is Brooke Boyle. I am the founder of a company called Engage. I'm wearing the shirt because my monthly event was this morning. Engage is intended to help people find meaningful connections in Ann Arbor. We specifically target those who are new to the area or are feeling alien despite the fact that maybe they've actually been here for a while, and connecting them to the people in Ann Arbor who actually really enjoy having a coffee conversation and introducing them to people that they know and trust in Ann Arbor. Brian Kelly was one of the very first people that I met who was willing to let me be imperfect and let me share my messy life with him. And the tech community is how I learned how to build this tiny little thing that I thought could do something and then prove that it actually worked and be okay with not being perfect all the time. And watching this community of supportive tech founders actually was the only reason that I'm standing here today. So if you are new to the area, or if you are looking for professional opportunities or just connections to the community in general and ways to participate so that you feel like you belong and matter, I would love to talk to you. I'll be here for a little bit afterwards, and then I'll also be at Pizza House. So, thanks.
I'm Dan. I'm an independent software developer and consultant. I focus on data science and business intelligence. One of my first projects was for a company in town who's actually the authority box on Google for how to start a business. I help them with their search engine optimization by tapping into both the Google Console and Analytics API using both Python and R. A project I'm working right now is for a major automotive OEM. I'm helping them identify which technology trends are happening and which ones will be happening. I'm doing that with Python and Tableau. A project I'm working on for myself involves predictive sports analytics. I'm doing that in Python and Tableau. I may have an opening for another client in the next 4 to 5 months. I'll be around. I'll be at Pizza House. Come say hello. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hassan Hodges, and I am offering services in the product management area. So if anybody is looking for somebody to do iterations, roadmaps, analytics, that type of thing, come talk to me. And then the other announcement I have is kind of an ask where I am looking for a technical co-founder. So if anybody is interested in a combination of app development, wellness, mindfulness, yoga, all of those happiness types of things, come talk to me because I'm looking for somebody to collaborate with.
Hello everyone, my name is Luke Donahue and this is Paul. We're here on behalf of New Enterprise Forum. New Enterprise Forum is a group of angel investors that kind of got together in a nonprofit capacity to provide coaching and guidance to startups, in particular as it relates to the way that you put together pitch decks and financials to approach investors. So what we're, this Thursday, what we're doing, we have a panel discussion at Ann Arbor Spark. That starts at 5 p.m. The panel discussion will cover startup financials and important metrics and how you kind of track success when you're pre-revenue. And then we are also looking for people to pitch for our pitch pit on May 16th, so next month. Actually, third Thursday of every month, we bring in people to pitch, and it's a really great community and a really great place to kind of tease out your financials and get a lot of feedback. So,
hey, forgot one thing.
What's that?
Free food.
Oh yeah, free food. Free food. So, yeah, please do come.
Yep, and that's the URL to learn even more.
Yep.
Hey, my name's Diane, and I recognize that's a pretty a-hole move to come in late and then pitch community announcements, so I'm sorry about that. My best excuse is that I was talking to these guys, he's going next, and told them to come out today, and then from here on out. A lot of responsibility. No pressure. I'm a little schizophrenic in the sense that I'm pitching you two things that are happening at the same time on the 30th, and they're like roughly around the same thing as well. Many of you know me as one of the co-founders of Ann Arbor Health Hacks. We've got a great new leadership team. Neither of the two could be here tonight, and when I told them I'm coming, they're like, ooh, will you tell them we're doing a mini hack on the 30th? So healthcare mini hackathon, it's more like a brainstorming event. However, there's also an event that for the last 2 months was at the exact same time as this. And I told the organizers, you can't do this, you have to do it on another day. And now they're doing it on another day, it's on the 30th. And the other event is a medical innovation pitch club. And they're doing it at Pizza House. They have free pizza and they want people to sign up. I'm gonna write both of those. Awesome, thank you, Brooke. I'm gonna write details of both of those on there. If you're vaguely interested in making a difference in healthcare, both of these are equally good. I said I'm schizophrenic. I would like to be in both places at the same time, and I was at the Medical Innovation Pitch Club for the last 2 months before I told them that they can't have that event at the same time as this because they want people like you in that room at that time. Name's Diane. I'll write a little bit more there. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane, for the warm introduction. So it's a very simple ask. So I'm here with Gaurav. So we started Backpack. This is an app that focuses on attracting volunteers and matching organizations and nonprofits that have spots in specific tasks and different causes to people who are willing, specifically millennials, who are looking for ways to engage with that. We think technology can bridge that gap that has been happening for the donations market, but not as much for the actually putting our hands to work type of market. So we're going to be starting at the Tech Arb this next May. We're going to be at the Accelerator at the university. We're looking for volunteering coordinators, people who have positions in board or board members from nonprofits, and people who know the space to help us in the consumer discovery part of process, and to get to know more about the day-to-day activities and challenges that you have in real life, so that we can address those pain points through the development of the app that is ongoing, but is going to learn a lot from any input that you guys might have. And if you know people who might be interested in contributing to that, I have my email here. It's my first name, Kayo@umich.edu, super easy, so feel free to contact, and let's see if maybe you can build something really good out of this in the next 3 months in the Tech Arb. Thank you very much.
And you're going to be a
Quick thing I forgot from the presentation. So I mentioned I am looking for a founding team member. I am just starting to raise right now. I'm looking for angel investors. If you're interested, please let me know. Also, I'm trying to get more connected in the Ann Arbor tech community. I'm based in Detroit. If you are looking for entry-level developers, we're a new training program. We have some developers who are going to be coming online pretty soon. And we'd just love to meet you and get to know. And then we're also trying to grow. So if you know people in Detroit who might be interested in this as members, please send them my way. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for making announcements. So as we wrap up here, a few details. Ann Arbor New Tech is always the third Tuesday of each month. So if you liked this month, maybe your first time coming was tonight, definitely come back and join us again, see more pitches next month, and continue to meet and interact with the people that you met here tonight. So our next A2NewTech meetup is going to be Tuesday, May 21st. And right now we do have pitches spots open in May and June. And so if you're interested in pitching or you know someone who should, reach out to us at organizers@a2newtech.org. We just sent out a call for pitches recently, got a bunch of responses back, but we're always looking for more people to put in the pipeline so that we have pitches ready to go. And we can, if you reach out to us, we'll send you back some questions to get a sense of where your business idea is at and let you know if we can get you in. Criteria we look for generally in the companies that pitch is that ideally you've done some customer validation at least and spoken with some prospective customers, if not more, and hopefully you've built a prototype as well. And so those are some of the things basically, but if you're not there exactly, reach out anyways and we'll give you some feedback. It will likely be me that responds actually, and we can let you know if it's going to work out or give you feedback about what you need to kind of tighten up before you can pitch. Again, I mentioned this before we hit the pitches, but you can find us in the next month at madeina2.com/Slack to join that Slack channel. And also check out madeina2.com. There's a list of Ann Arbor tech companies on there. You might learn about someone that you are not familiar with if you check out that website. So let us know about your pitch idea for May, and then we're going to be going to Pizza House right after this. I'll be leaving soon for that, which is at 618 Church Street. So how many people plan to join us over at Pizza House? Okay, great. So it'll be a great chance to continue to mingle and meet some more people after this, so I encourage you to come out and join us. But thanks for joining us this month, and we'll see you next month.